Why Americans are buying revolvers again. Most buyers do not come back to revolvers because they suddenly hate semi-autos. They come back because after a few range trips, a few carry setups, and a few guns that looked perfect on paper, they start asking a different question. Not, what holds the most rounds, but what can I actually run, trust, carry, and keep for the long haul? For a long time, the gun counter told one story. Lightweight polymer pistols, higher capacity, easy accessories, red dots, duty gun styling, and the usual names, Glock, SIG, AR-15 platforms. But one of the categories getting serious attention again is not the newest striker-fired pistol. It is the old-school revolver, the wheel gun. The same classic handgun a lot of people wrote off as outdated is back in the conversation. And this is not just cowboy movie nostalgia. This is not just collectors chasing safe queens. American buyers are taking a second look at revolvers because the market has changed, shooters have changed, and a lot of people are realizing something simple. The spec sheet does not always tell you what happens after the gun leaves the counter. By the end of this video, you will understand why the revolver is back, who is buying them, where they still make sense, where they do not, and why this comeback is bigger than a trend. The start of the revolver revival. Walk into enough gun shops and patterns start showing up. Small town stores, big city dealers, busy counters on a Saturday morning. Cases that used to be almost wall-to-wall with polymer pistols now have something else sitting right up front. Revolvers. Not one lonely used wheel gun hiding in the corner. Real inventory. Modern snub-nose carry guns. Big-bore hunting revolvers. Classic steel guns. Performance models. And the important part is this. They are not just sitting there looking pretty. They are moving. Some industry reporting and dealer conversations point to renewed revolver demand, with certain reports describing double-digit growth in the category. Legacy names like Smith and Wesson, Colt, and Ruger are clearly paying attention. That matters because gun companies do not invest in dead categories. They follow buyers, and buyers are starting to rediscover what revolver people never really forgot. A good revolver is not trying to win a spec sheet fight. It is trying to solve a real-world problem. In this video, we are going to break down the forces behind that comeback. The practical reasons, the cultural reasons, the collector angle, the modern engineering, and the honest trade-offs that a buyer needs to understand before choosing a wheel gun over a semi-auto. Simplicity is still the revolver's biggest strength. The first reason is the most obvious one. Simplicity. And simple does not mean primitive. Simple means fewer things to manage when your heart rate is up, your hands are shaking, or you are a new shooter trying to understand what is happening in your hand. A revolver is about as straightforward as a handgun gets. You are not seating a magazine. You are not racking a slide. You are not working through the usual semi-auto problems like failures to feed or stovepipes. You open the cylinder, you can see the chambers, you understand the condition of the gun. That visibility matters to a lot of new shooters. I have seen plenty of people freeze up around semi-autos because the slide feels stiff. The magazine is not fully seated, or they are not sure whether the gun is loaded. With a revolver, there is just less mystery. That does not mean revolvers require no training. They absolutely do. A double-action trigger takes practice. Reloading a revolver well is its own skill, and a small, lightweight revolver can be much harder to shoot than it looks. But the basic manual of arms is easy to understand. A revolver is simple to understand. That does not mean every revolver is easy to shoot well. That distinction is where a lot of buyers either make a smart choice or learn an expensive lesson. Reliability and long life still matter. Reliability is a major part of the revolver's appeal, but durability is right there beside it. A lot of revolvers are built from solid steel or aluminum alloy, not polymer. That usually gives you more weight in the hand. But it also gives you a kind of toughness people recognize immediately when they pick one up. A well-made revolver can last a very long time. Take care of it, keep it clean, do not abuse it. And that wheel gun may still be running clean decades later. Collectors and longtime shooters understand this. They do not just see revolvers as tools. They see them as machines with timing, lockup, cylinder rotation, and mechanical character. A modern polymer pistol can be an excellent defensive tool, no question. But many shooters will tell you it does not give the same feeling. A revolver lets you feel the parts working. You hear the cylinder, you feel the trigger stroke, you feel the lockup. That mechanical feedback is part of the appeal. The practical point is simple. A revolver can be a defensive firearm, a range gun, a collectible, and an heirloom. That combination is hard to ignore. Value and collectability are driving buyers too. Money plays a role in this comeback. A lot of common polymer semi-autos lose value over time. That does not make them bad guns. It just means the market is crowded, new models show up constantly, and used polymer pistols are everywhere. Revolvers often behave differently. Many hold value well. Some climb. Classic or limited-run models from Colt, Ruger, and Smith and Wesson can become serious collector pieces. Look at the original Colt Python. Look at the Smith and Wesson Model 29. Those are not just old revolvers anymore. They are icons. Clean examples can bring serious money, and buyers know it. That changes the way people look at a purchase. A polymer carry gun may be reliable, practical, and affordable. But most buyers do not expect it to become a centerpiece in a collection. A good revolver can give you function today and long-term value tomorrow. That does not mean every wheel gun is an investment. It is not. Condition matters, model matters, era matters, demand matters. But the pattern is real enough that buyers pay attention. For the right person, a revolver is not just another handgun. It is a firearm with staying power. The cultural comeback of the wheel gun. Mechanics and money explain part of it. Culture explains the rest. Revolvers are having a real moment again. Younger shooters are seeing them in movies, streaming shows, and video games. Think Red Dead Redemption. Think Call of Duty. Think modern westerns that put old-school steel back on the screen. That kind of exposure changes perception. A revolver no longer looks like something forgotten in a drawer. It looks classic, powerful, mechanical, American, and yes, it looks cool. Social media has pushed that even further. Gun channels and creators are showing revolvers as modern defensive tools, range guns, collector pieces, and examples of American firearm heritage. That matters because pop culture may create interest, but the range decides whether that interest lasts. When a new shooter picks up a revolver and feels the weight, the balance, and the trigger, it is a different experience from another striker-fired pistol in a plastic case. That difference is part of the draw. For some buyers, the revolver is not just a firearm, it is a statement. They want something with character, something that stands out, something that feels less disposable. That is where the comeback becomes more than a sales chart. It becomes a buyer saying, I want something that feels real in the hand. Modern innovation meets old-school design. Manufacturers are not missing this trend. They see the interest, they see the demand, and they are building revolvers that make more sense for today's shooter. Colt brought back names like the Python, King Cobra, and Anaconda. Those names carry serious history. But the modern versions also bring improved manufacturing, smoother triggers, and stronger frame designs. That matters because buyers want the classic feel without giving up modern expectations. Smith and Wesson continues to build out its performance center revolvers. That means tuned internals, better triggers, cleaner fit, and more purpose-built options for shooters who want something beyond the basic shelf model. Then you have Ruger. The Ruger LCR series took a very smart modern approach. It combined a lightweight frame system with a stainless cylinder and a carry-friendly design. That gave buyers a revolver that kept the simple operating system, but made more sense for concealed carry. That is the formula. Keep the soul of the wheel gun, improve the materials, improve the trigger, improve the sights, improve the carry options. The modern revolver is not frozen in the past. Same basic cylinder, same old-school confidence. But the sights, triggers, materials, and carry options are much better than what many people picture when they hear the word revolver. Who is buying revolvers now? The customer base is more diverse than people think. This is not just older collectors, and it is not just cowboy action shooters. New shooters are a big part of the story. They like the simplicity. They like being able to open the cylinder and see what is going on. They like a firearm that feels understandable. For a first-time buyer who feels overwhelmed by slides, magazines, safeties, and malfunction drills, a revolver can feel more approachable. Women are also a growing segment. Lightweight hammerless designs like the Smith and Wesson Model 642 Airweight make sense for people who want a snag-free carry gun. No exposed hammer to catch on clothing, compact size, simple operation. But here is the honest part. The same lightweight that makes an Airweight easy to carry can make it sharp under recoil. That little gun may disappear in a pocket or small holster, but it is not automatically beginner-friendly at the range. A carry gun you cannot shoot well is not a solution. Collectors are also pushing demand. Vintage models from the 70s and 80s are getting more attention, and that has helped drive second-hand prices higher. Those buyers are chasing history, craftsmanship, scarcity, and mechanical quality. Concealed carry permit holders are part of it too. Compact snub-nose revolvers still have a role in deep concealment. They are simple, they are discreet, they can be reliable when maintained properly, and then there are younger shooters. They are influenced by pop culture, aesthetics, and the appeal of owning something different. To them, a revolver is not boring. It is retro cool. It is a statement piece in a market where a lot of pistols look and feel very similar. Different buyers are coming from different angles, but they are all helping push the same revival. Engineering upgrades and real performance gains. Modern revolvers are not just old designs with fresh marketing, many are technically better than ever. Manufacturers are using lighter alloys, improved heat treatments, cleaner machining, and smoother double-action trigger systems. That matters. A gritty double-action trigger can make a revolver harder to shoot well. A smoother trigger helps the shooter press through without pulling the sights off target. That matters at the range. It matters in training. And it matters for anyone who wants confidence with a defensive handgun. Capacity has improved in some models too. Revolvers like the Smith and Wesson Model 627 and the Ruger Red Hawk can offer 8-round cylinders. That does not erase the capacity advantage of a semi-auto. A Glock 19 with 15 rounds still wins that paper fight. But 8 rounds changes the conversation. It gives the revolver buyer a little more breathing room without giving up the wheelgun operating system. Sights have improved as well. We are seeing fiber optic front sights, adjustable rear sights, and even optic-ready setups on some modern revolvers. Years ago, that would have sounded strange. Now it makes sense. Today's shooters expect better sight pictures. They expect better visibility. They expect more precision. The modern wheelgun is still a revolver, but it is not stuck in 1975. Caliber flexibility and practical power. One of the strongest revolver arguments is caliber flexibility. Take a .357 Magnum revolver. That same gun can also fire .38 Special. That gives the shooter options. You can train with softer .38 Special loads that are easier on recoil and usually easier on the wallet. Then you still have the power ceiling of .357 Magnum when the roll calls for it. That flexibility matters. It lets newer shooters build confidence without getting punished every range trip. It lets experienced shooters train more comfortably. And it gives one firearm a broader range of rolls. Revolvers also chamber cartridges that bring serious power. You will see guns in .44 Magnum, .45 Colt 10mm, and even .454 Casull pronounced Casull. Those are not casual first gun cartridges. They are not for somebody who just wants a soft shooting nightstand gun. They make more sense in hunting, hiking, and backcountry conversations. That is where power, penetration, and load flexibility matter differently. A compact semi-auto may dominate the urban defensive pistol conversation. But in the woods, the priorities change. That is why big bore revolvers still have a place. Not because they are trendy, because they solve a different problem. The revolver versus semi-auto debate. Of course, we cannot talk about this comeback without talking about the old debate. Revolver versus semi-auto, and let's be honest, semi-automatic pistols dominate in capacity and reload speed. A Glock 19 with 15 rounds beats most 6-shot revolvers on paper. That is just math. A semi-auto is usually easier to reload quickly. It is easier to carry spare magazines. And for duty use, competition, or high round count training, capacity matters. But paper does not tell the whole story. Revolvers trade capacity for mechanical consistency, no magazine to fail, no slide to short stroke, no stovepipe in the usual semi-auto sense. If a round fails to fire at the range, the revolver's normal cycle simply moves to the next chamber. That is one reason some shooters still trust them. Now, revolvers are not magic. They can malfunction, they can get dirty, they can go out of time, they can be damaged. And when a revolver has a real mechanical problem, it may be harder to fix on the spot than a basic semi-auto malfunction. That is the honest conversation. The revolver is not better at everything. The semi-auto is not better for every buyer. The real question is which trade-off fits the person holding the gun. For a lawful homeowner who wants a simple bedside firearm and is willing to train safely with it, simple operation can matter more than chasing maximum capacity. For someone who carries daily and trains hard with a semi-auto, the capacity and reload advantage may matter more. There is no universal answer. There is only the right tool for the role. Accessibility and ease of operation. Revolvers also appeal to people with limited hand strength or limited training experience. There is no slide to rack, no magazine release to manage, no external safety to manipulate, no need to seat a magazine properly before the gun can run. For older adults, smaller framed shooters, or people dealing with hand strength issues, that can matter a lot. But again, we need to be honest. The double-action trigger can require real effort. A small revolver can recoil sharply, and shooting one accurately takes practice. So the revolver is simple to operate, but not always effortless to master. That is an important difference. The right gun is not always the one with the most rounds. Sometimes it is the one the owner can safely understand, operate, and train with. That is why revolvers keep coming up in serious self-defense conversations. Not because they are perfect, because for certain buyers, they remove the exact problems that keep them from feeling confident with a semi-auto. Not just a fad, but a real market shift. So is this just a temporary trend? It does not look that way. Revolvers are earning more attention from buyers, dealers, manufacturers, trainers, and collectors. Companies are investing in new models. Gun shops are giving them more case space, and revolver-specific training is showing up again in places where it used to be rare. That matters. Training follows demand. When students start showing up with wheel guns, instructors respond. This is not just nostalgia, it is rediscovery. Shooters are realizing that simple operation still matters. Craftsmanship still matters. Reliability still matters. A good trigger still matters. And not every serious handgun has to be polymer, striker-fired, and optics cut. There is still a place for steel. There is still a place for a cylinder. There is still a place for a firearm that works because the design has been refined for generations. That is why this comeback feels different. It is not just people looking backward. It is people looking at their actual needs and realizing the revolver still answers some of them very well. The emotional side of the revolver comeback. There is also an emotional side to this, and honestly that matters. Owning a revolver connects people to firearm history. Old West cowboys, mid-century detectives, classic American service revolvers. Family guns passed down through generations. There is something about opening a cylinder, seeing the chambers, and feeling that double action stroke that connects differently than another striker-fired pistol in a plastic case. That does not make polymer pistols bad. A lot of them are excellent tools, but a revolver feels less disposable. It feels like a machine. It feels like something with memory in it. For many shooters, that makes the experience more personal. It becomes less about chasing the newest thing, more about enjoying the firearm itself. That emotional connection is one reason the revolver never really disappeared. People buy them because they work, but they keep them because they mean something.